Hey everyone, welcome back to Knowledge Snacks. Today we're doing things a little differently. We're about to jump into the biggest oops moments in history. The decisions, the disasters, the straight-up blunders that changed the world. We're talking Titanic, Chernobyl, even Blockbuster turning down Netflix. Yeah, some of these are going to blow your mind. Make sure to hit that subscribe button because 99% of you watching aren't subscribed yet. You don't want to miss out on the wild ride we're about to go on. All right, first up, let's talk about the Titanic. This ship was supposed to be the crown jewel of the ocean, the pinnacle of engineering. They called it unsinkable, and people believed it. But then, bam, it hit an iceberg. Now, you might think, iceberg, big deal, right? Wrong! The Titanic didn't have enough lifeboats for everyone on board. They thought they were too good for that. So, over 1,500 people ended up in the freezing water as the ship went down. Next up, we're heading to space, the Challenger disaster. Imagine you're a kid, watching these brave astronauts blast off and then, boom, the shuttle explodes live on TV. Turns out there was a problem with a part called an O-ring. It failed because of the cold weather, and that's all it took. 7 astronauts lost their lives that day. This disaster threw the space program for a loop, delaying missions and forcing everyone to rethink how they approached space travel. Okay, get ready for this. It's 1929, the roaring 20s, everyone's partying, the stock market's booming, people are getting rich overnight. But then, like a house of cards, it all came crashing down. The stock market crashed, wiping out billions of dollars. People lost everything. This wasn't just some Wall Street problem. It snowballed into the Great Depression. Businesses closed, unemployment skyrocketed, and the world was plunged into an economic crisis that lasted for years. Let's rewind the clock a bit and talk about Napoleon Bonaparte, the military genius who thought he could conquer anything. He decided to take on Russia, which, spoiler alert, was a terrible idea. Napoleon marched his Grand Armée, over 600,000 soldiers, all the way to Moscow, but guess what? It was winter, Russian winter. Freezing temperatures, dwindling supplies, and relentless Russian attacks decimated his army. By the time they retreated, Napoleon had lost over 90% of his force. Talk about a history lesson you don't want to repeat. Now let's journey back to ancient times, to the legendary city of Troy. For 10 years, the Greeks had been trying to break through the city walls, but Troy was impenetrable. So they came up with a plan, a sneaky plan. They built a giant wooden horse, the Trojan horse, and pretended it was a gift, a peace offering. The Trojans, thinking they had won, wheeled the horse inside their city walls. But guess who was hiding inside? That's right, Greek soldiers. They snuck out at night, opened the gates, and bam, Troy fell. Back to the present for this one. 1986, Chernobyl, a nuclear power plant in Ukraine. During a safety test, the reactor explodes. It was the worst nuclear disaster in history. Radiation spread across Europe, forcing evacuations and contaminating the environment for decades to come. The human cost was immense, with thousands of people suffering from radiation sickness and long-term health problems. Chernobyl became a chilling reminder of the devastating power of nuclear energy when it goes wrong. All right, let's talk about a major political blunder. The Bay of Pigs invasion. Picture this. 1961, the Cold War is heating up. The US under President Kennedy wanted to overthrow Fidel Castro in Cuba, so they trained a group of Cuban exiles and launched a surprise invasion at the Bay of Pigs. But here's the thing, it was a total disaster. The invasion was poorly planned, the exiles were outnumbered and outgunned, and the US provided almost no support. It was a humiliating defeat for the US and strengthened Castro's grip on power. Now, let's talk about a different kind of disaster, a marketing disaster. We're talking about the Ford Edsel, a car that was supposed to be Ford's next big hit in the late 1950s. They spent millions of dollars on advertising, hyping it up as the car of the future. But when it finally launched, it was a flop. People hated the design, the name, everything. It became a symbol of corporate arrogance and a prime example of how not to launch a product. The Edsel cost Ford a fortune and became a legendary cautionary tale in the business world. Get ready to cringe, music lovers. In 1962, a little band from Liverpool called the Beatles auditioned for Decca Records. They were hoping to get signed to share their music with the world, but Decca Records, they said no. They told the Beatles that guitar groups are on the way out and that their music was not very commercial. Ouch! Little did they know they had just rejected the biggest band in history. The Beatles went on to become global superstars, selling millions of records and changing the face of music forever. As for Decca Records, let's just say they probably regretted that decision for a very long time. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about a mistake that still stings today: Blockbuster's refusal to buy Netflix. Rewind to the early 2000s. Blockbuster was the king of movie rentals. Remember those blue and gold stores? They were everywhere. Netflix, on the other hand, was this small company mailing DVDs to people. They approached Blockbuster with an offer: buy us for $50 million. Blockbuster laughed them out of the room. Fast forward to today and, well, you know the rest. Netflix is a streaming giant, and Blockbuster, they're down to one store. It's a classic example of how failing to adapt to change can lead to your downfall, even if you're at the top of your game. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We just dove headfirst into some of the biggest blunders in history, and trust me, there are plenty more where those came from. Don't forget to subscribe to Knowledge Snacks for more amazing content. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you in the next video.